strong language and profanity may not be suitable for children and sensitive adults. Sorry, what's up, everybody? As you can see from my disclaimer that this is going to be a sensitive topic. Once again, you guys are here listening to Marcus Speaks, and I am your host, Marcus. Okay, so today's video talks about domestic violence, and since I am basically a relationship channel, why not talk about this? Because this is very serious, and it happens a lot. It's not like this feminist movement or the Me Too movement has addressed any of this stuff yet. Which they should. Like, it should be part of their criteria in what they talk about. So since they're lacking on their job, I guess I'll do their job for them. So I would say with domestic violence that it's pretty fucked up, because not only do women go through it, men go through it too, but it's mostly when you hear about it either in the news or you see it in the newspaper that it has to do with a man victimizing a woman. So I'm gonna throw one stat to y'all. 1 out of 3 women, and I think it's 1 out of 4 women too, but depending on where you read it at, 1 out of 4 women has been a victim of domestic abuse. And now you ask yourself, well, how is this, going on or whatever? It goes on because usually the man is not all the way confident and in tune with who he is. So, with that, another stat is intimate partner violence accounts for 15% of all violent crimes. So that means that if you have, let's say, 10 women, maybe 3 of those women are domestic abuse victims. So this happens between the ages of 18 to 24, and I will bump that up a little higher. I would say from ages, 16 to maybe 45 that this happens, and maybe even higher. Like, I've naturally haven't known anyone that I've seen in my younger years. I would say in my teenage years into like my early 20s to cut off. And I'm gonna share a story with y'all towards the end of this podcast, so please bear with me. So 19% of domestic violence involves a weapon. So that's either a blunt object, a knife, a gun. Women do get killed, and I just won't put this just on women. Men get killed too. 1 out of 4 men, or I can say that's a little higher also, or we can lower it. Let's say 1 out of 2 men are domestic abuse victims from their woman. So now you guys may be sitting here thinking, like, what is he talking about as far as men? So I'm gonna break this down like this. I would say, since the natural norm of things is men are more physical people, women are more emotional people. So men usually, when it's domestic abuse, they use their body. So that's fists, that's leg, kicks, that's maybe head button, like I said, using a weapon, a knife, a hammer, a bat, maybe a car, tying women up. We seen this said in the Surviving R. Kelly documentary or docuseries that he hog-tied his wife, he beat his wife, he verbally abused her or whatever. And with that type of animal, I would say that's what men do. They hit, they restrain, and they abuse with words. And what you may be thinking, well, what does Marcus mean by abusing by words? Well, when a man is weak within himself, he mainly can't express himself, and I would say mentally weak, not physically weak. When a man is mentally weak and he cannot express himself in a way to communicate to his spouse, it usually goes like this. He could be calling his girlfriend when he's at his peak of being abusive. He's calling her out of her name. That's domestic. That's verbally abusive. He's telling her that she's not good enough. She's not pretty enough. Just to break her down, so he feels good about himself. So he's in control of his situation. So that comes with control. Okay, so that's being verbally abusive. When it comes to physical, he could rape her. He could, like I said, physically abuse her. He can, with this new wave of technology, he could be embarrassing her on social media or the internet somehow. Mainly, I would say, not mainly, but usually within that type of deal, let's say that the woman's making more money than him, then he could be financially draining her also. So she doesn't find a way to get away from him. Like let's say that she's finally had enough and she wants to leave. Well, she can use her money as leverage to get away from him, to move away. He could be financially draining her in a way that makes him in control to where she can't leave. So that could be him telling her, when you get paid, give me all your money or whatever, and I'll do what I have to do or whatever. So with that also, it also comes with him, like I said, not fully being confident and in control of himself. So it's usually an anger issue. It's usually something that's happened to him when he was younger that involved him being around a female that makes him uncomfortable with the situation. He maybe could have seen his mother abused by his father or a boyfriend or something. Because usually domestic abuse is either a learned behavior or a mental state of him not being able to suffice of why he does it. So or it could be something that he heard from a friend, which is learned behavior, that I beat my woman and whatever, and she takes it, or blah 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 blah. So with the statistic I put out of the age range, I just found something online, and the greatest risk of being domestic violence victims is between the ages of 18 to 34. So I did have a good mindset of where the number should be, but like I said, I want to widen it a little bit. So let's say 16 to 40 or whatever, because you do see in certain aspects of high school relationships that we hear that the boyfriend is beating up on the girlfriend. So, and usually the saying goes, every 9 seconds a woman is being abused. So every 9 seconds a woman's being abused. So let's take an 8-hour shift at your job. From the time you clock in, when 9 seconds pass, a woman will be physically hurt or emotionally hurt or verbally hurt. Let's say within that 9 seconds of you clocking in to get to your seat, another woman gets physically abused or verbally abused or emotionally abused. And then let's say, you get to your seat, you're at your desk or whatever, you log into your computer, another woman gets abused. So with that statistic rolling around, like they've measured within a way of how many women a day are abused. And I don't have that number in front of me right now, but 80% of girls and women have been or are physically abused from, a relationship. So, yeah, like it's an issue. It's an issue that's been going on for decades now, and I think it's something that should be talked about, because I've never seen as a boy my mother being traumatized or abused by a man, but from stories of what I've heard my mother tell me and my sisters about when she was growing up with my grandfather and my grandmother, which they split up in the early 70s or whatever. They married in like the mid to like the early to mid 50s, split up in like the early 70s. So from what I've heard, from what my mother has told, that my grandfather used to physically abuse my grandmother. So as a child, that makes you look at that a man that you should revere in your life. It made me look at him a little different. It didn't make me love him any less, but it did make me look at him a little differently. And along with that, I heard that he cheated on her also, and that right there is, I would say, a way to emotionally abuse your spouse, because where cheating goes, it makes a woman not feel worthy or worth, like her worth drops in a way that makes her feel unwanted or she's not good enough or whatever. So how can I go about this? So with domestic violence, I will say, from a man being, like, not me personally, but from a man being physically abused by a woman, I would say it's usually verbal or whatever. It may be some physical in there, but it's usually verbal stuff to trigger our emotions, to make us not feel like we're adequate or good enough or whatever. So that, because usually within that aspect, it's the woman that is unsure of herself, and she doesn't feel as though that she's worthy of being with that man. Just like a man, he doesn't feel like he's worthy enough to be with that woman, so he either physically or verbally abuses her to get to her emotions and make her not feel good about herself. Same way with men. If a woman is is emotionally or verbally downgrading a man with her words, making him feel small and not a part of a relationship that he wanted to be in, then usually if the man has a weak mind himself, he'll believe everything that is being said, so he won't feel like that he'll be any much better in another relationship to have than to be other than being in the one that he's in already. So the man will usually stay within that relationship and continue being verbally abused. So it usually with that sometimes you do have your success stories, and I won't you put it all on like no one leaves. You do have your success stories where you hear that a woman or a man was verbally or physically just in domestic violence period. You hear the stories, and then they tell their story, and they have the dark moment of when it started and how long it was, and then they have the light where they see when they get tired of everything and they get the fuck away from the person to the point that they get the strength to go, and they fight back, and they get away from the person, and they start feeling good about themselves to the point to leave. And that's great, and that's good, and you gotta have those stories. So if you're that person that's being physically abused or emotionally abused or verbally abused by somebody, and you hear somebody else's story of what you're going through also, you tend to gain the strength to yourself, because you're like, oh, okay, if that person can do it, I know I can do it also. So you start taking it one day at a time or whatever, and start slow, and then you start gaining a lot of confidence and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, I can do this, I can leave this person or whatever. Then however which way you want to go about it, either get yourself and you go to the police and you tell them what's been happening, and then he gets locked up or whatever. Because to be honest, the domestic abuse, I think domestic abusers get, I think, a minimum of, I think, 5 years in jail, 3 to 5 years in jail or whatever. So yeah, so that gives that person a lot of time to fucking think about what the hell they was doing. Some change, some don't, but it's not only the person that's being abused that needs to get help, because they've been traumatized and gone astray, and the person that also is doing the abusing needs help too. And you will see when abuse starts happening that it's like, I think they said it's 3 variables. I think it's like 3 to 4 variables of what happens. distancing you from family and friends. Then verbal abuse happens, and then I think it's physical abuse. So yeah, I think it's three factors that happens. So you get, he starts to tell you to, start getting away from people that, you've been, hanging around and being around all your life and whatever. He starts trying to convince you that, this person ain't no good for you because they want me and what, you want to lose me to this person, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And, that puts, if the person is weak-minded, they'll believe it. But if you know who you're around and who your real friends are, you know that none of that will be true. So, also, we have to really take this in account because a lot of pregnant women are being physically abused. If anything, we have to take that into account because it could be a guy that's not that probably doesn't want a child, and he's doing all that he can to probably get rid of the child. And it could be trying to cause an abortion by making the woman stressed and everything, and stuff like that. He could do some stuff very drastic, such as stealing from a person. If he's very out there, he'll set the house on fire to make sure that she doesn't, get out of the house. Robbery, probably stab her, shoot her. Just these dark scenarios that could happen to, a pregnant, or not even just a pregnant woman, just, a woman in general, that could happen. So, other things I will say within the aspect of a female doing the abusing, I would say, I would say it's only usually one factor because they're not sure and they're not confident within themselves that the person that they're with likes and loves them as much as they do. So if they don't feel that way, and there's no convincing them within the realm of telling them, I don't want anybody but you, baby. You're the only person that I love, and I would never do anything to hurt you. And it's going in one ear and out the other, and then they're verbally attacking you, then that could be a point of judgment of where the man should leave. Because I feel like it doesn't get physical until the woman loses all control of her emotions, and she starts physically abusing or whatever. And it's like meeting that mean girl at school that's just very, very troubling to be around because she's a victim of everything. Everything has happened to her, and not downplaying that, but I'm just saying, it's no convincing her that she's okay, she's fine, whatever. It's that type of person that can be a domestic abuser. So with all of that, you also get into domestic violence is like it could be a nice day outside. Y'all both can be happy, and you could be doing something out in the just out and about, driving around, being boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, just doing normal stuff that couples would do. Take a ride, go to dinner, something like that. And you could trigger something in them of what you could say or something like that, and that could make them go off to the deep end and start verbally attacking or physically attacking you. So like those are more so the worst cases. Is not sort of something that may happen all the time. So yeah, so I'm gonna share it's not the story I want to tell you, but it's a story that I want to also tell, and it's something that I've seen. I think I was the age of 15 or 16, around that age, and I was walking with some friends, and we were walking, I think home from like McDonald's or something, and I think my mom called me and was like, "Hey, do you think you can pick up some toilet paper?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, like whatever. I'm out at the mall. I'll pick it up. Like it's a strip mall in my town, so like we call it the mall." So I just remember walking down from McDonald's and walking to the parking lot of the Acme grocery store, and I seen this girl and this guy like outside of a car just talking. So I didn't really think nothing of them, talking to my friends or whatever. And then I start to hear the guy raise his voice. So when you start to hear loud commotions, you pay attention to it. So we all was looking at it. Me and I think it was like 4 of my friends I was with, and the conversation got elevated, and then I saw him strike her, and he smacked her or whatever. I think he smacked her like 2 times or something like that, and she started crying, and I think she had a friend in the car too. And I think I looked over at the friend, and the friend looked at me and was like, "Help her." And when it gets into stuff like that, people don't want to get involved or whatever. I was that person. I didn't want to get involved because I didn't know whose car the guy was in, if that was his car or that was her car. Like, I don't know what was in the car, so I didn't want to approach the guy and tell him what he was doing was wrong or whatever, because I don't know them. I've never met them in a day in my life. Not saying that I wouldn't have helped her, but you have to take certain precautions when you're the outsider of someone else's relationship, because for all we know, the girl could have told me to get the fuck away from her or whatever, and get the fuck away from where they was at. So and with that being said, I would say with those types of relationships, stuff like that does happen. Some women don't want to be helped because they don't feel like that they're in a situation where they can be helped. So it becomes very troubling, and people don't like seeing shit like that, and people don't like people don't like thinking about stuff that could happen like that, which is very true, because when I saw that, I was taken aback from it. I didn't know how to assess the situation. So it's real strange of how to how can I say this? It's very strange of how to approach a situation of sorts that can lead to those types of activities. So I just pulled up a chart that deals with domestic violence, and it's a pie chart, and one of the pieces of the pie, well, the whole pie chart in a whole is called physical violence, sexual violence. So one of the pieces of the pie is using intimidation, making her afraid by using looks, actions, gestures, smashing things, destroying her property, abusing pets, or if she has children, abusing the children too, and displaying weapons. So that right there, making her afraid by using looks, actions, and gestures. That is, yeah, that's very true. Because if you ever been around a domestic abuser, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people has been around a domestic abuser and never known that they was around a domestic abuser, stuff like that does happen. Using looks and actions and gestures, like a look, like a real mean look, and then an action like about to hit her or something like that, and gestures such as telling her that, or showing her really like what you gonna do, smacking a fist and your fist into your hand or whatever, like that type of gesture. Destroying stuff and smashing stuff, yes. Like excuse me, a domestic abuser will destroy property and whatever to try to make his point to don't fuck with him in a way. So abusing pets, and I did add children to that. He will physically break her down by abusing loved ones or whatever, such as a child, because a child is innocent, so it can't defend itself. A child can't defend itself, so that puts her in a vulnerable state, as if she can't help herself or whatever. And brandishing and displaying weapons like a knife or a gun or a baseball bat or such or whatever. So using emotional abuse, putting her down, making her feel bad about herself, calling her names, making her think she's crazy, playing mind games, humiliating her, and making her feel guilty. That's also a true one. Putting her down, basically telling her she's not good enough, she's not pretty, she's not no other man will want her, nobody likes her, nobody likes being around her, such things, things such as that. Making her feel bad about herself. Just basically telling her she, and that goes along with calling names too, calling her fat, and telling her that she's not again pretty enough, or she's ugly or whatever, stuff to put her down, emotionally put her down to where she isn't confident about herself. Making her think that she's crazy, most definitely. Nah, I ain't no bad dude. You tripping. Just because I hit you don't make me no bad dude. That type of shit. Playing mind games with her. And then the other one that's next to playing mind games, by making her embarrassed, or doing stuff around people that she knows, or doing stuff on social media by embarrassing her and whatever like that, and making her feel guilty, basically saying if what could be something I can say to Read it again. Make her feel guilty. Oh, if you wouldn't had done that, I wouldn't have did this. Like you the person that makes me this way. I ain't never been like this. Like shit like that. Like it's very like it's making her emotionally break down to the fact, and in some cases it does make a woman go mental. And you see, you hear about the good girls going bad, or the the crazy females or whatever. Like, it's due to a man that has emotionally abused her and scarred her. Like, she's not in a state to where she can physically or emotionally deal with a relationship to the fact of where she's even adequate of making herself presentable to even be around a man or whatever, to make herself feel pretty and good and whatever, making her feel good. The next one is using isolation, controlling what she does, who she sees and talks to, what she reads, where she goes, limiting her to outside involvement, using jealousy and justify actions. All right, let's take the first one. Controlling what she does, who she sees and talks to. He'll like I said a while ago, he'll make her feel like her friends and family aren't good enough for her to be around, and then he'll isolate her that way. Or he'll tell her that she can't go anywhere without him being with her. Or he'll if she has a social media and let's say she sees like a relationship quote or something, he'll tell her that the quote that she's reading is bullshit and she shouldn't be reading shit like that because it doesn't apply to their relationship. And where she goes, I think I went over that, he'll tell her that she can't go anywhere without him, and who she talks to. So basically, he'll make her he'll basically control like phone time. Like, let's say he's outside, or he's been outside and she's been on the phone talking to her friend. He'll walk in the house, see that she's on the phone, and start to scream at her and take her phone and basically be like, yo, don't fucking call her no more or whatever, blah 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 blah, things of that nature. Limiting her outside involvement. Basically, if she wants to, let's say, see a girlfriend of hers that she hasn't been around, it's basically like he is her father and she's his child. He'll basically tell her, no, you ain't going nowhere or whatever. Like, no, tell her that you can't make it, you ain't going nowhere. Like, it's more so like that, like he's trying to play her father or whatever, and that goes along with isolating her also. Like, when a man isolates a woman, then that means that he feels as though that he has her best interests in an abusive relationship, and he's trying to emotionally break her down to where he can deal with her. That's the whole point of domestic violence. Whenever he sees that she has a high, he'll beat it out of her. Nope, you're not getting that high without me. Like, I'm not allowing you to get that high, so stay down here with me to my level. So using jealousy and justifying action. So basically, let's say she gets a promotion at her job and she's real happy about it. He'll basically tell her that yeah, you gonna get that fucking promotion, you gonna leave me and shit. Like that's the type of shit that I'm talking about. Like, you always thinking about leaving me and shit. Like, I love you, girl. Like, why you trying to leave me and shit? That type of shit. So the next one is minimizing, denying, and blaming. So that goes with making light of abuse and not taking her concerns about it seriously, saying the abuse didn't happen, shifting responsibility for abusive behavior, and saying she caused it. Now, this is the most powerful one on here so far. So I want to take the shifting responsibility for abuse and behavior. Basically what I said earlier too. He'll tell her that the only reason why I hit you is because you made me do it. If you would have never did this, I would have never hit you. Basically not taking full responsibility for his actions because he's not strong enough to control himself from smacking or hitting a woman. So let's see. Say the abuse didn't happen. So this usually falls along with when she's telling someone about it, or let's say she's in front of a cop. He'll basically deny the fact that he hit her. I've never hit her in my life. Ever since I've known her, I've never hit her. So if a cop asks, or let's say her dad asks, well, how she get that bruise on her eye or on her arm, or how did she get that busted lip? I don't know. She fell. Like, I ain't never touched her before. That type of shit. Making light of the abuse and not taking her concerns about it seriously. That goes along the lines of him basically like laughing about it. Like you hit me in my chest and blah blah blah. Man, I hit you in your chest and it was a light tap. Like, you tripping, it wasn't that hard. Like, you bullshitting. That's basically where that falls along the lines of. And saying she caused it, basically blaming her for the abuse. I hit you because of this reason, and if you keep doing this, then I'll keep doing that. That's basically where that falls along. So using children, making her feel guilty about the children. So I would say with that one, that goes with, let's say that if the man's walking into a relationship where the girl already has a child. So it's basically in with that if the woman has a good relationship with the baby's father. So if he's jealous of that situation and he feels as though that she's maybe thinking about being with her ex or something like that. Or let's just say they just have a good relationship. It didn't work out while they was together, so they're working it out between them two with the child. Like, that's basically where that falls along the lines of using the children to relay messages. So basically that would go with let me see. Oh yeah. Tell your mom I said this, or tell your mother if she don't get in here in the next 5 minutes, then something bad gonna happen. Basically, some extreme shit like that. Using visitation to harass her. That, like I said, that falls along the lines of, let's say that the man and woman has a child and he wants to see his child, and then he harasses her about not being able to see her child, then it may turn either verbally abusive or physically abusive, but usually never leads to physical. It usually leads to verbal or emotional abuse. So what's the other one? Threatening to take her children away. So we see this a lot. Let's say, I would say we see this more on TV, and we may know some certain people within our lives that go through this. Saying, basically a man just saying, I'll take you to court so I can get my kids, stuff like that. Which in most cases, judges never rule within the favor of the man with shit like that, unless the woman has abuses drugs, or it doesn't have an adequate home for the child to live in. That usually where that falls along the lines of getting children taken away, a woman getting children taken away, but never in the fact of him saying, I'll take you to court to get my kids because of this reason. So that's a good one too. So using male privilege. I really don't know what the fuck this means, but I'm gonna read them off to you anyway. Treating her like a servant, making all the big decisions, acting like the master of the castle, being the one to define men's and women's roles. Okay, so I can understand this one. It's basically a man that feels like he's macho and a woman better do what I say type of attitude. There's nothing else to really go forth on of discussing with something like that. So, we get this type, we know these types of people. So, it goes more along the lines of I'm the master and the woman's my slave type of mentality. So, that was a good one. So, using economic abuse. Like I said, I talked about this one, so let's go through the points. Preventing her from getting or keeping a job. So basically, causing trouble with her. Either he calls a lot at the job or something like that, and because what the crazy ones is, I ain't heard from you in 20 minutes. What the fuck you doing? Stuff like that. Making her ask for money. Basically, he makes her broke. He takes all her money, and then she has to ask for money in order to either buy food, pay a bill, or whatnot, or get gas or something. So, let's see. Giving her an allowance. So basically, he does this. If she's not working, he'll probably, let's say he makes all the money, he'll give her, let's say he makes like $2,000 every 2 weeks, pays all the bills, he's left with maybe $700. He'll probably give her $250 out of that $700. He keeps the rest. So, you do what you want with that and whatever. Taking her money, that goes along the lines of what I said. He takes her money, and she's left ass out. Not letting her know about or have access to family income. So if he's the main breadwinner, she's out of the loop of how much is in the bank account, how much she can spend and stuff like that. He takes care of all the financial situation. So that basically goes along the lines of using male privilege. So you using threats, so making or carrying out threats. So basically, bitch, I'll whoop your ass, and he whoops her ass. Threatening to leave her to commit suicide, to report her to welfare. So basically, he'll tell her, bitch, if you leave me, I'ma kill myself, or basically, was that threatening to leave her? So, bitch, I'll leave you, whatever. You ain't gonna find nobody better than me. Shit like that. It's usually shit that we've heard and seen before. And the reporting her to welfare. So basically, he'll basically tell her, he'll call it welfare. Tanya, so and so. Like she got a dude staying there with her and whatever. So, you need to go down there and check that shit out. And then they do, and it's nothing, along out of what they already know that she's going through. And he's just basically trying to make trouble for her, whatever. So the welfare people, they'll probably watch her pretty closely to see who comes in and out of her house, who stays, whatever. If she's whatever, asking questions, stuff like that. So that was the end of the physical violence and sexual violence chart that I was reading, the pie chart, and it was some shit that I've never really heard of before, and it was some good shit that I saw. So All right, we're going into this with my story. So, everybody, please quiet down with everything that you're doing and listen up. Let me take a drink real fast. All right, so it's gonna be hard. When I was 25, I was with a female that I was in a serious relationship with. Me and her was dating for a while. We chose to get together, and then when we got together, we chose to start living together. So when we started living together, everything was fine, everything was cool. So I can't give you dates or whatever, but I committed domestic violence on her. I would smack her, I would hit her, I would punch her, I would threaten her, I would beat her child. Everything that I've been saying and going through within these charts and what I've been saying is basically personal shit that I was doing and personal shit that she also was doing, but I'm not placing blame because, I was the main person out of all of this. Her abuse came out of her being sick and tired of being hit and threatened all the time. So I can understand her side of the matter. So, as time went on, our relationship was cool, but it was more bad days than good days. But with our good days, we both held on to those as hard as we could and as tight as we could, because anything could send us into a downward spiral. Either I would get upset or she would get upset, but I was the main person doing the abusing, the physical abuse, the threats, the verbal abuse, emotional abuse, telling her that she was fat, ugly, she wasn't good enough, she wasn't smart enough, and stuff like that. I did that, and it's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that I brag about, but I do talk about it because I do like setting awareness to people of what I've been through and who I am. I'm not that person anymore because it came to a point in fact that I damn near killed her. One day I came home from work and I just asked her a basic question, and I was just basically like, hey, did you cook dinner or anything? And she was like, no, I didn't. And she started to tell me how much of a bad person I was and how I abuse her and stuff like that. So me coming home from work, I didn't want to hear that type of stuff. And mind you, this is between the ages of me and her being together. So the abuse, we was together for 2.5 years. The abuse only happened for a year. So let me give you that time stamp of how long this happened. Excuse me. So I smacked her, and then I proceeded to choke her, and then I fell on the ground with her as I'm still choking her, and I damn near choked her to death. The cops were called because people outside and our neighbors heard the commotion of what happened in our apartment. The cops came, they took reports, they asked us what happened. We both denied of anything happening because we both didn't want to get in trouble. I mainly didn't want to get in trouble. So later on that night when everything died down, she told me that I should have told him what you did because you're fucking making me feel like I'm not good enough for anything, and you're basically beating my ass to where I'm starting to hate you. So I had to take a hard look at who I was and why I was doing that. And like I said, I've never seen anybody physically abuse a woman a day in my life other than that time when I was in that parking lot. And I feel like that by me not helping that girl, I became that guy. So shit. So time went on, and I wasn't abusing her anymore, and we got into a fight again, and this is the point where I started to see where she started getting her confidence and her strength back, because she started fighting back at this point. So I had to sit down and I had to talk with her, because that's not what I wanted to do anymore. So I basically told her that if we get into any more physical altercations, and if we get into any more verbal boxing matches, that we're done. Like, we're not to be together, we're not to see each other anymore, we're not to be in the same area with each other. So she agreed that I'm not to put my hands on you, you're not to put your hands on me. If we can't talk anything out, then that's it. So we called it what it was. We made sure that, we were nicer, we communicated more, and as time went on, stuff started getting good. We started getting back to who we was when we first met, and came a day where it was some shit going on, and I got brought back down to who I used to be. But I took everything that we talked about, and I basically told her, hey, like, I'm not agreeing with what's happening. Like, I don't like that. Like, we need to whatever. So she starts to yell and she starts to scream, and she basically did what that chart said, that she threatened that she would smack me. And I told her that no, she's not, because if you put your hands on me, I'm leaving. So she smacked the shit out of me. And, I took it, but something in me, and I don't know why I did it, but I smacked her back. But when I seen all that go down, I basically said, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this shit no more. Either you're gonna kill me or I'm gonna kill you, which I've already damn near did that. So I'm out. I can't do this no more. I gotta get away from you. So we was away from each other for, I think, a good 3 weeks. We stayed in contact with each other for a while. She told me that she's willing to make it work if we start over. So I started to do that. And I started living back with her for a short while. And we got into another altercation, and that's what led to me going to court, because the story's too long to say, but the gist of the story is that we got into an argument about something that happened that day. I left, and then I came back because I had forgotten an item. We got into another fight, after me just coming back just to grab something real fast, got into another fight, and it led to us fighting and, getting cops called, whatever. But by this time, when the cops had got there, I was gone. It wasn't that I was running from them. It was just, what had happened. I got away from her in the situation. So come home, I get a phone call from the police. They tell me that I should, come and talk to them and all this, but I already knew what that bullshit was, so I didn't. I told them what happened. I told them my side of the story. She told them her side of the story. They basically told me that I'll have some paperwork coming in the mail pretty soon, so just be on the lookout. I had to get fingerprints and mugshot taken, but luckily it was no jail time. But I did have to go to court or whatever for certain things that I had did. So after that, after everything was all done, I had to, during one of the agreements of my paperwork was I had to go to anger management. And I would say anger management was a good thing that happened to me, because I'm not naturally an angry person. Like, anybody can tell you that Marcus is pretty chill. Like, Marcus, I never seen Marcus raise his voice other than when he's laughing or whatever. So I did the anger management, and what I've learned from anger management, that when people are angry and people are showing anger is a confused emotion that they cannot express because they don't understand what the emotion is. So if someone is happy and they've never felt happiness before, it'll trigger them into being confused of what the emotion is, and then they become angry. So basically, anger is just a confused emotion of them not being able to know how to express it. So, but the anger management, that's what the anger management taught me. Like I said, I've never been an angry person a day in my life. I've always been a cool, calm, and chill person. But I do have a dark side to me, and it all comes from what any black boy has gone through, is a fatherless household. So, it's certain things that men instill in boys when they're growing or whatever that I didn't get to learn, and I had to learn the hard way. So that court date basically was one of those growing up moments, and the anger management was one of those growing up moments or whatever. And I can say I've been in a couple other relationships other than her, and they all were smooth and calm, but I just wasn't I wasn't really into being with anyone else and being with these people. But I had fun with those people. But me being afraid of me going back to that person is what prevents me from being in a relationship with someone else, because it's very easy to go back into someone that you've been. And that's why I wanted to do this video or this podcast or whatever about domestic violence, because it's something that 1 out of 4 women and 1 out of 2 men go through. So let's spread the word. Let's let's try to get attention to domestic violence, because this type of thing gets swept under the rug. Because while I was going through my court date, I started doing some research about domestic violence, and basically what comes up a lot and where the laws are triggered and where they come from is the O.J. Simpson case about him being the murderer of Nicole Simpson, and the things that he used to do to her before her death and her murder and stuff like that. All domestic violence laws surround that case, to where they learn from it, to where they can create these laws about domestic violence. And we have to, learn from shit like that. And also what I learned from California law of domestic violence is that if a woman calls the police, and I think this is everywhere else too, if I'm not mistaken, if a woman calls the police, gives them a story of a man abusing them, and then when the police come and she says, no, I didn't say that, I didn't mean that, then not only does the man get handcuffed, the woman gets handcuffed too for lying. So, ladies, I want to tell you this: if you are in a relationship that's a domestic abuse, that you're experiencing domestic abuse, and if you ever call the police or try to seek help, do not lie about what you're going through. And I will say that I'm a big advocate for domestic abuse survivors, because not only did me and that young lady go through that situation, we also became friends after our relationship ended. It took some time, it took some years, but we got around to talking about where we was in that situation, and we were young and we didn't know what we was doing when we was living with each other, and we didn't really know that the aspects of what to expect out of each other and stuff like that. So by learning from that experience, I now have the knowledge of what I should do when I'm in a relationship and whatever. So like I said, I was 25 when it happened, my whole year of being 25. So that's when it happened. So met her when I was 24, turned 25. A year goes by for me to, committing domestic violence, and then, our relationship ends. And then I'm 26, and then, whatever. Alright, so that is the end of this podcast, and I want you guys to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon if you could, and please tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and please let those friends know, tell a family member to tell a friend also. So this is Marcus Speaks. I am Marcus, and this is the end of the podcast, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.